Call the regular city commission meeting of Tuesday, July 10th, 2012 to order. Before we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, I would ask that we have a moment of silence in memory of Staff Sergeant Matthew Leach of Ferndale, a member of the Kantz family and Coravisis family of Pleasant Ridge. He died in Iraq 2 weeks ago. His funeral is tomorrow. May we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we take roll.
Commissioner Bushy?
Present.
Commissioner Krzyjak?
Here.
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Commissioner Rubino?
Here.
Mayor Costelli?
Here. Next item is consideration of the recognition of Mr. Myron Stein, Tree Time, Inc., for his generous donation of trees to the city of Pleasant Ridge. Sherry.
Well, Mayor and City Commission, I am pleased to tell you that Mr. Stein and his wife are here this evening. And the story I have told the City Commission was that I was contacted one day by Mr. Stein out of the blue, asking if the city would be willing to accept a donation of trees and or conifers. And I think I probably came across a little strange on the telephone because I thought this is too good to be true. But sure enough, after talking to him for a while and hearing his story, he is the founder of Tree Time, a website that pretty much explains what he does. And he took it upon himself. His story is interesting. He took it upon himself while driving on Northwestern and looking at the median, noticing how tree barren it was, that he would devote some of his time and efforts to communities to help them green the area and beautify their landscape. And so thus began his mission and effort to help cities who were financially strapped and maybe not able to purchase enough trees and bushes for their area. And the only thing he asked is that the trees be planted either in our case along Woodward Avenue or on a public thoroughfare so that they could be seen. He does this on his own, and we were able to plant this year already 7 maples and 5 white pine conifers. So I am most grateful, and you have before you this evening a mayoral proclamation recognizing his good deeds and work. He is a delight to know, and I am very proud to say that this was certainly something that was most welcome in the city of Pleasant Ridge, and I think all of our residents express gratitude to him.
And at first you thought the phone call was coming from Nigeria. He was an oil minister.
Exactly. Exactly. So it was really strange. He happens to be a student of my son's, was telling his story to my son, and my son said, hey, my mother's a city manager, so why don't you call her? They have green space too, and that's how we connected. So,
Amy, can you read the proclamation?
Sure. Whereas Mr. Myron Stein has graciously donated a special gift to this community which deserves special recognition, and whereas approximately 1 year ago, as Mr. Stein was pondering the idea of devoting his time and efforts to a civic-minded project, he noticed the tree-barren condition of Northwestern Highway in Farmington Hills and decided to do something to enhance the area. And whereas Mr. Stein was aware of the economic struggles that local governments were facing and understood that a private citizen initiative could indeed make a difference towards the purchase of trees, and whereas the idea to enhance and beautify the land became a mission and quest for Mr. Stein, and he put his plan into action, and whereas he first contacted the Michigan Department of Transportation to inquire on how he might be able to donate and plant trees and bushes on public land, and whereas the MDOT had no objections adding trees to the boulevards and referred him to the city of Farmington Hills, and he was able to meet with the Farmington Hills Beautification Committee to explain his idea and how he could assist the city in greening the land, resulting in the city accepting more than 13 trees that would be planted on Northwestern Highway. And whereas Mr. Stein then expanded his mission to include other public byways and thoroughfares, including Woodward Avenue, and has provided trees to several neighboring communities. And whereas Mr. Stein is the proud founder of TreeTime, treetime.vpweb.com, a nonprofit organization developed for the purpose of beautifying and greening public spaces through the planting of trees, dependent on volunteer work and supported solely by private contributions and donations. And whereas, in addition to the environmental contribution that trees provide, the goal of Tree Time is to create an area that is pleasant to the eye and invokes a feeling of grace and delight. And whereas, when Mr. Stein contacted the city of Pleasant Ridge earlier this year, his generous offer to provide trees and conifers was graciously accepted. And whereas, just last month, the city planted 7 red maple trees and 5 conifers on the Woodward Avenue Boulevard, and whereas additional trees have been offered and will be planted in the fall of 2012. Now therefore I, Ralph A. Castelli Jr., by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Pleasant Ridge, do extend on behalf of the City Commission and all our citizens this proclamation to Mr. Myron Stein as an expression of our most sincere appreciation and gratitude for his tireless efforts and generous contributions to the city of Pleasant Ridge.
Is there a motion to endorse the proclamation?
So moved.
Is there support?
Support.
May we take a vote?
Commissioner Rubino?
Yes.
Commissioner Bushy?
Yes.
Commissioner Krzyjak?
Yes.
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Mayor Costelli?
Yes, motion carries. Thank you, sir. We want to hear you and Matthew Ball in a piano duel in 2 years.
Well, thank you very much. That's really nice.
And a token of our appreciation.
Oh, my gosh.
Thank you, and thank you for
all very
coming.
much. That's
Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
We have more proclamations. Next is Jason Gideon, who I do not believe is here. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Is there can you summarize the proclamation, Amy? Or the events?
The
Or
event
Sherry.
took place on, would you like to do it or would you like me to?
No, that's fine, because it ties in with the one that we're going to present to Sergeant Bunting. Go ahead, Amy, if you want to just summarize it.
Sure, the event took place on May 5th. Mr. Gideon had noticed some suspicious activity near his home. He took it upon himself to follow the individual that he thought was suspicious. During the time he was following this individual, he also called into dispatch, and a car was dispatched to the area. Sergeant Bunting then identified that car, and it was a suspect that was attempted B&E, breaking and entering into another property where that homeowner was home. The suspect tried to gain entry, was scared off by the homeowner. Sergeant Bunting then pursued the suspect and was able to take him under arrest without incident.
Is there a motion to approve the resolution recognizing Mr. Jason Gideon?
Your Honor, I move the resolution recognizing Mr. Jason Gideon be adopted as recommended.
Is there support?
Support.
May we take a vote?
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Commissioner Rubino?
Yes.
Commissioner Bushy?
Yes.
Commissioner Krzyjak?
Yes.
Mayor Costelli?
Yes, motion carries. Next are the resolutions for Officer Nagy, who I think I see back there somewhere, and Sergeant Bunting. Amy, can you read each of these?
I will start with Sergeant Bunting's, if that's okay, since
That
it
is-
ties into the story.
That's fine.
No, it's okay. Come on. Come on. It's a big day for your dad. Thanks, girls, too.
This is Sergeant, I didn't set off your alarm, Bunting.
Whereas on Monday, May 5th, Sergeant Bunting was dispatched to the area of 68 Sylvan for a complaint of a suspicious person vehicle. When he arrived at the Sylvan-Gainsborough intersection, he received another dispatch of a home invasion in progress at 5 Wellesley. Since the owner of 5 Wellesley was in her home at the time of the break-in, Sergeant Bunting immediately headed to that property. And whereas as Sergeant Bunting was arriving at the home of 5 Wellesley, he observed a car matching the suspicious vehicle pulling out of the driveway and heading towards Woodward Avenue. And whereas Sergeant Bunting activated his emergency lights and siren and attempted to pull the suspect vehicle over, at that time the suspect driver began to flee at a high rate of speed through the wet streets of a residential area in the city of Royal Oak. And whereas while on pursuit, Sergeant Bunting continued radio contact with Berkeley Dispatch, identifying locations of the suspect's erratic driving. Finally, Sergeant Bunting cornered, tactically blocked, and disabled the suspect vehicle. At that time, he was able to take the suspect into custody. And whereas while on the scene of the arrest, Sergeant Bunting inventoried the suspect's vehicle and was able to uncover items from an additional Pleasant Ridge home invasion. The property recovered was later identified by the homeowner at 3 Sylvan. And whereas the suspect was arraigned in 45B District Court on charges of home invasion, receiving and concealing stolen property, and fleeing and eluding. Further, the suspect has an extensive violent criminal history. And whereas Sergeant Bunting displayed exemplary courage, dedication, and good police skills in pursuing the suspect in a vehicle chase. The attentive and quick response by Sergeant Bunting resulted in the suspect being spotted and quickly apprehended without further incident. Now, therefore, this citation is proudly presented to Sergeant Bunting on this 10th day of July 2012 with honor and respect for his extraordinary performance of duty. In recognition of your outstanding qualities of heroism, leadership, and dedication, the Pleasant Ridge City Commission, the City Administration, and all the citizens of this great community extend our sincere appreciation to Sergeant Bunting and offer congratulations as recipient of this distinguished recognition.
These are on the agenda as one item, but let's do these as separate votes. Is there a motion to approve the resolution in honor of Sergeant Bunting?
So moved.
Is there support? Support. May we take a vote?
Commissioner Bushy?
Yes.
Commissioner Rubino?
Yes.
Commissioner Kurzak?
Yes.
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Mayor Costelli?
Yes, motion carries. Sergeant, am I correct that the disabling of the vehicle involved crashing into it?
I like that wording. I wish I could. I'm gonna use that from now on.
It'll keep the city manager's blood pressure down.
Keep me out of trouble.
Thank you,
Thank you
Mike.
very much.
Now, if we have a photographer who wants to come up here, that might be better.
Yeah. Much better view.
Officer Nagy's turn.
Whereas on Wednesday, May 23rd, 2012, while on routine patrol, Officer Nagy spotted a white male later identified as Adam Best straddling the guardrail of the I-696 freeway at the Campbell-Hilton Bridge in the city of Royal Oak. And whereas Officer Nagy immediately contacted Berkeley Dispatch and requested assistance from the Royal Oak Police Department as he turned his patrol car around to attempt to make verbal contact with Mr. Best. And whereas Officer Nagy called out to Mr. Best and was ignored, then he exited his patrol vehicle and slowly approached Mr. Best. Officer Nagy engaged Mr. Best in conversation and encouraged him to step down from the guardrail. And whereas, with subtle persuasion, Officer Nagy was able to gain Mr. Best's trust. Mr. Best agreed to step down from the guardrail and sit inside Officer Nagy's vehicle so that they could continue their conversation and Mr. Best could compose himself until Royal Oak Police and Fire arrived. Upon arrival, Mr. Best was transported to William Beaumont Hospital by the Royal Oak Fire Department. And whereas it was Officer Nagy's strong belief that Mr. Best would have jumped and that Mr. Best was waiting for a vehicle to approach the bridge so he would jump, and whereas Officer Nagy displayed exemplary courage, dedication, and good police skills in persuading Mr. Best to safety. Now, therefore, this citation is hereby presented to Officer Nagy on this 10th day of July 2012 with honor and respect for his extraordinary performance of duty. In recognition of your outstanding qualities of heroism, leadership, and dedication, the Pleasant Ridge City Commission, the City Administration, and all the citizens of this great community extend our sincere appreciation to Officer Nagy and offer congratulations as recipient of this distinguished recognition.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the resolution? Is there support? Support. May we take a vote?
I don't know who made the motion.
Rubino made the motion.
Commissioner Rubino?
Yes.
Commissioner Bushy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kurzak?
Yes.
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Mayor Costelli?
Yes, motion carries.
Good job, guys.
Thank you.
Next item is consideration of the following minutes. Public hearing and zoning board of appeals meeting held Tuesday, June 12, 2012. Public hearing and regular city commission meeting held Tuesday, June 12, 2012. Is there a motion?
Your Honor, I move the minutes of the public hearing and zoning board of appeals meeting held Tuesday, June 12, 2012, and the public hearing and regular city commission meeting held Tuesday, June 12, 2012, be approved as recommended.
Is there support?
Support.
Questions, comments? May we take a vote?
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Commissioner Bushy?
Yes.
Commissioner Krzyjak?
Yes.
Commissioner Rubino?
Yes.
Mayor Costelli?
Yes, motion carries.
Mayor?
Next- Yes.
If I may, we have one item that is not listed on the agenda, but our new employee, the assistant to the recreation director, was
Come
able to
forward.
make it this evening. So we'd like to introduce her and administer the oath of office, if that's all right with you.
That's fine. Scott?
Great. Mayor and City Commission, I'd like to introduce Ms. Bridget Brown, our new assistant to the Recreation Director. After interviewing many people, Bridget's comes with great experience and great knowledge in the recreation field, and she's a fellow Chippewa. So I just want to introduce her to you and to everybody that's watching on TV and YouTube later on at home. So she has started, and she's really, like I said, when I first talked to her, I said, we throw you to the wolves and you get on-the-job training here. So she's doing a great job so far, and just wanted to introduce her to you guys.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Hey there.
Is there an oath of office?
Do you have that ready?
I have it.
Okay.
Amy's so good.
I solemnly swear to torture Scott at every opportunity.
Repeat after me. I, Bridget Brown,
I, Bridget Brown,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the Assistant Recreation Director
of the Assistant Recreation Director
for the City of Pleasant Ridge
for the City of Pleasant Ridge
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities. Thank you.
All right.
Next is number 9, the June 2012 disbursement report. Amy?
Payroll and accounts payable for the month of June was provided to all of you prior to the meeting. Payroll for the month was $67,420.31. Accounts payable was $329,046.22.
Of which none were tax liabilities.
Yes.
That'll change next time. Questions? Comments? Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that the June disbursement report be approved as listed.
Is there support?
Second.
Now take a vote.
Commissioner Bushy?
Yes.
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Commissioner Krzyjak?
Yes.
Commissioner Rubino?
Yes.
Mayor Costelli?
Yes, motion carries. Governmental reports. Our favorite governmental reporter isn't here, nor is anybody else. City Commission liaison reports, starting with Commissioner Krzyjak, Recreation Commission.
Thank you, Mayor. At the last Recreation Commission meeting, an issue that has been discussed here and was brought to the Recreation Commission regarding the reinstallation of the basketball rims at Gainesborough Park was discussed. I believe Sherry will have a recommendation to the City Commission in the September meeting regarding that issue. For the calendar, the ice cream social will be held at Gainesborough Park on Wednesday, July 18th. The event starts at 6 p.m.
I'm sorry, I missed the date.
Yes, it's July 18th.
Okay, thank you.
I think a week from tomorrow,
What time?
6 p.m.
Thank you.
at Gainesborough Park. We have had 16 days over 90 degrees and 3 days 100 or above so far this pool season. Last year we only had 10 during the same period. We have had over 1,000 more users than we had last year at the same time. So it has been very busy. So Bridget, you picked a great season to get your feet wet, literally, at the pool. Also, from July 3rd through July 7th, we accommodated the users of the Huntington Woods pool as they were out of power. And we have 127 kids registered for the summer program. It's a great program, and the kids are having the blast. I can vouch for the necessity of that program to the enjoyment of my wife and I summer. It's been a real blessing for our family. I know our kids really enjoy it. On behalf of the Recreation Commission, I definitely want to welcome Bridget to the community. We really look forward to working with you, and I just wanted to thank Erica Pratt, who left and who Bridget is replacing. I know our family, I know several families in the community really valued her service to the recreation opportunities in this community, and regardless of the event, she worked very hard to make sure that it was a success. And a lot of my kids' memories at those events were due to Scott and her hard work on those events. So I just wanted to, as she leaves us, I wanted to, on behalf of my family, thank her for her service to Pleasant Ridge and welcome Bridget to the community. So. And that's all I got, Mayor.
Next, Planning Commission DDA, Commissioner Bushy.
Well, at the Planning Commission, we had the outdoor dining public hearing, which went real well. They had a great turnout. We had a lot of people come on and talk in support of it. It eventually was approved by the whole board, and
As to Mace.
as to Mace, correct, as to Mace. And moving forward in that direction. I didn't get to the DDA meeting, but there is a big concert in the park coming up. I don't have the date in front of me.
25th?
The 25th. The 25th.
6:30.
At 6:30. That's it. It was a short meeting.
Historical Commission, Commissioner Rubino.
The Historical Commission does not meet in July or August. However, we are going to have an event in September. It's going to be the weekend of September 14th, 15th, and 16th. It's going to be an antique sale where we're going to have hopefully enough dealers to provide selling to residents and any other people that want to come. We are going to have some special meetings just to make sure that we can follow up and get this thing planned. But other than that, there is no commission meeting, regular commission meeting in July or August.
Everything else, Commissioner Perry. Everything else soon to get more everything.
Yes. It's already started. The first of all, with the schools, they are obviously on break. There are some great camps and things like that, including some basketball camps and t-ball and things like that are listed for pretty much all ages. If you go to the ferndaleschools.org, under its backpack notes, and they list some really great activities for the kids. I was talking to a couple of the school board members today, and they wanted me to remind, Pleasant Ridge residents have always been such great dedicated volunteers and employees of the school, as well as school board members. And another really great way for people to make a very important impact is to volunteer for the committees, for the school board committees. And those include things like staff relations, policy, program and technology, operations and finance, because those are a lot of the meetings where real decisions, the important decisions are made. And a lot of the really deep discussions are happening. So even if there are not positions maybe open on those committees, it's still great. They're public meetings, so you can go and attend and still have your voices heard and get questions answered and stuff like that. So you can join those by go under the school board menu at ferndaleschools.org is a really great spot. Now onto transit. Thursday is the official kickoff meeting for the Woodward Corridor Alternatives Analysis group. They have officially signed the contract. SEMCOG has signed the contract with Parsons Brinkerhoff, and they will define and evaluate the alternatives for the mode of transportation, locally preferred transit alternative, environmental reviews, and coordinating community outreach for the whole transit issues along the Woodward Avenue thing. And then luckily I have even had the opportunity to attend a WA3 meeting, which they had their board meeting to talk about their annual budget. And it's a really interesting group that I'm hoping we vote later to approve to rejoin. It's a non-for-profit collaboration of public and private partners working to preserve and enhance Michigan's iconic 27 miles of Woodward. So, thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Sherry, we've had some recent communication today. You've been involved in more of it than me on the court situation. Can you give a brief report?
Well, I hadn't heard anything from the new 45th District Court, so I did send an email over to the court administrator to find out what was going on, because July 1st was the deadline for the elimination of the 45A and B. And lo and behold, a contract or agreement has been signed by 2 of the 5 cities, and that would be where the courthouses were held, in Oak Park and in Berkeley. So I think after some objections were voiced by Royal Oak Township and Pleasant Ridge with respect to new fee schedules and the operation of the court, those 3 cities are not a part of this temporary agreement. And this agreement that I received today is effective through December of 2012. So I intend to keep track of what's going on and make sure that at least our voice is involved in some of the fee schedules and obligations for Pleasant Ridge, regardless if we have any say in the operation of the building. I don't think that's necessarily important. So that's all I know for now.
And so while we haven't had a chance to review the agreement in detail yet, I haven't had a chance to print it off yet. Essentially, it's to continue the 2/3, 1/3 split with respect to fines generated from Pleasant Ridge tickets, with Pleasant Ridge to give 1/3, which is the same as what it was under the prior situation.
That's right. We will receive the same. Nothing has changed with the fee structure, at least for the 6-month time period. The concerns come in with new fees that may be added to every ticket, so we'll see how that goes.
Okay, thank you. Next item is consideration of the fiscal year 2013 municipal and community credits contract with the Suburban Mobility Authority for regional transport, known as SMART. Sherry.
You have before you the annual request to approve the contract with SMART, and the city is entitled this year to receive $2,470 in municipal credit funds and a little over $3,000 in community credit funds. A few years ago, we were looking at ways to spend that money in-house rather than transferring it to another community to get better use out of the funding, and decided that it would be nice if we could fund the trolley program with SMART credits. And after submitting an application explaining how we intended to use the funds for trolley transportation, it was approved. And so we did get a slight reduction in the amount of our funding, about $730 this year, and that's because the federal funds that SMART received was reduced as well. But still, it's a good amount for us to be able to provide the trolley. So my recommendation is that the 2013 municipal and community credits contract between the city and SMART be approved.
Is there such a motion?
Your Honor, I move that the fiscal year 2013 municipal and community credit contract between the City of Pleasant Ridge and the Suburban Mobility Authority for Regional Transportation, SMART, be approved as recommended.
Support.
Questions, comments? May we take a vote?
Commissioner Rubino?
Yes.
Commissioner Bushy?
Yes.
Commissioner Krzyjak?
Yes.
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Mayor Costelli?
Yes, motion carries. Next item is consideration of the establishment of the Pleasant Ridge Construction Board of Appeals. Sherry.
This item is an unusual item. Under Michigan state law and the state building code, cities are required to have a construction board of appeals. In the history of the city, there has never been a request for a hearing before the construction board, and so one has never been established and there has never been a need for it. Several weeks ago, I received a request from a homeowner who was denied a permit to appeal that to the Construction Board of Appeals. And so I contacted our zoning attorney, and it was his recommendation that we establish such a board and establish a fee schedule and an application. So we set about doing that, and the city clerk came up with a couple different samples from other communities. And we contacted, the members on the construction board do not have to be residents, first of all, but should have some sort of experience in the building department and/or knowledge of building and in that field. So in any event, we contacted a few people that we know. One is our inspector who does electrical inspections in the city, because we knew our building official may in fact have a conflict if the building permit was denied and he's on the Construction Board of Appeals. And then we contacted a former city clerk who worked in a building department in a neighboring city for 20 plus years. And then the third person is someone that we use on a temporary part-time basis, who is a building inspector for a major city in the state. Those are the three people that we contacted. They have agreed to serve. I will add and tell you that the request I received several weeks ago has been withdrawn. So there will not be a need for a hearing, but I just think it's prudent that the city go ahead and establish this board so that it's in place should the need ever arise, and we would be obviously in compliance with Michigan state law by doing so. So my recommendation is that the Construction Board of Appeals be approved with the three members mentioned in the memorandum as the board members. Those terms would expire, December of 2014, although it's probably better, and I talked to the mayor about this, to have them expire at the November of 2013 date, so that they would be the same as all other appointments that the city makes at that time. So I would recommend you change that date in the motion. And then an application fee of $150 be established and approved.
I have one other suggested change in the motion, but we would change December 31st, 2014 to November 30th, 2013. Is that what you were saying, Sherry?
Yes, exactly.
And then seeing we are establishing the board for the first time, I would suggest in the second line of the motion, after Construction Board of Appeals, comma, with members to serve 2-year terms ending in November, comma.
Okay.
Does that make sense to everybody? Yes. Is there such a motion? Or, yeah, I guess someone has to read the motion.
I just have a couple questions.
Sure.
Sherry, just a question I had. You pretty well addressed it, but when I saw it on your note to us, it said, in the city's part-time building official. We're not talking about our building
Right.
official.
We
Because
use
having
him.
our building official, when I saw that, I go,
Would be
no, if you already
Exactly.
denied it, you already got one vote against you before you get there. So
That's right,
That's
yeah.
not fair.
This person is someone, when our building inspector is on vacation or gone,
fill-in,
not available, he's a
part-time.
fill-in. So,
That makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, when I saw that, I go, oh, I don't know if I like that. It's not fair to the applicant. All right.
Any other questions?
Yes, Mayor. Sherry, are there any salaries or fees associated with these positions?
no.
No, it's volunteer.
That's why they hope it never meets. Anything else? Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move the city of Pleasant Ridge establish a construction board of appeals that members who serve 2 years, terms to expire November 30th, 2013, that an application fee of $150 be approved as recommended.
And that the initial members be Kevin
Oh, I'm sorry, Kevin Schultz, Gloria Harris Ford, and Mitch Grisnick.
Yes,
Say that right?
that's right.
Okay.
Is there support?
Support.
May we take a vote?
Commissioner Rubino,
Yes.
Commissioner Bushy.
Yes.
Commissioner Kuziak,
Yes.
Commissioner Perry,
Yes.
Mayor Costelli.
Yes, motion carries. Next item is consideration of the city's membership in the Woodward Avenue Action Association, known as WA3. Sherry.
Mayor and city commissioners, as you know, several years ago, the city administration was looking at ways of reducing costs and keeping the budget within a reasonable number. And one of the things that is reviewed every year is memberships in different professional organizations and groups that the city belongs. The Woodward Avenue Action Association obviously is an organization that we were a longtime member, a founding member, and it was decided that there was not much benefit in belonging to this organization, and we had not really participated actively in a couple of years, and that was one of a few memberships that the city decided not to renew. So we did discontinue that membership, and recently, within the last couple of years, the WA3 has been at the transportation table, not as the umbrella organization in the beginning. However, my understanding is that they have become the umbrella organization for talks about transportation along Woodward Avenue. And Commissioner Perry did express an interest in being involved, and she was already appointed as the person who would be discussing transportation. So at our budget review this year, we did talk a little bit about it and whether or not that was something that the city would like to continue or renew its membership. And so I have listed that on the agenda for the City Commission's consideration, and we'll leave that decision to you.
And Sherry, as a matter of historical perspective, it was not only the matter of the budgetary item, because the dollar amount certainly isn't large, but also a decision regarding the allocation of people's time, especially time of the administrative staff, to areas in which we were not seeing much of a return or any return at that point in time. So
several of us, I think, attempted. I know there were at least 2 or 3 commissioners. I know the mayor, I know there was me, I know there was the city clerk, and I believe even the assistant city manager attended these meetings so that we would have a presence at the table. But it became evident that it was not, our time was not benefiting the city that was being spent at WA3. So that certainly played into part of the decision not to renew, because if you're a member of an organization, at least I believe, and I think that's the goal of the City Commission, is you should be an active participant and not just pay your fee to say you're a member.
so. With that said, Commissioner Perry, if you're willing to put in the time, I'm willing to reassess WA3.
Well, thank you very much. I think that, you know, through probably the evolution of the organization and everything, and the evolution of what's going on in metropolitan Detroit, and the importance of Woodward Avenue to sort of metropolitan Detroit, there are some very important things that they're really working on, which, you know, like the transit, which, you know, is the first leg of, you know, hopefully mass transit in a larger scale. But I think there's some really important things. I know one of our residents, Mark Johnson, has been on the committee throughout, and it's been really helpful. He's given me a lot of background and information, so I'm excited for some of the work that I'll get to do with that. Thank you. If we vote yes.
I have a question, Sherry. I thought the mass transit was going through a regional authority. They were setting that up. Did I get the impression that it was done through WA3?
No, it won't be done through WA3. They will have to establish a regional authority.
Okay.
SEMCOG is sort of the overseeing the what was it? The
Alternatives analysis.
Yeah, the alternatives analysis, but WA3 is helping on the transit-oriented development along Woodward Avenue, which is a very key component to this, as well as, you know, they are, you know, well, throughout all of this transit stuff, they've been really at the forefront of helping, you know, communicate and get different grants and things, as well as the, what is it, Complete Streets and everything, which ties into that, which is $700 and some thousand to help, you know, develop a better, just Complete Streets program along Woodward Avenue as well.
And that affected Pleasant Ridge?
Yes.
It has? In what
Well,
way?
we have been left out of right now the transit-oriented development because we weren't in it at that point, but, you know, because that was, I think, an $80,000 grant that they studied, ways to do it. So this now we will be included in, the kickoff for Complete Streets just started about 2 weeks ago as well, so we'll be included in that.
Any other questions?
I have one. 2 years ago, I remember us talking about this, and when we got out of it, we thought because of the value, it's only $1,300, but we weren't doing anything. Can you tell us, do you think the value is back? It's not a lot of money, but we talked about cutting our budgets and everybody cutting back on excessive spending that maybe is not necessary. What has changed with W3 that's going to make it more beneficial to Pleasant Ridge? The biggest problem we had before, that the main topic of the study was Detroit, and we were left out of a lot of items, but we were paying, but really had no voice. So what has changed that would make it so that we can vote to be a member again?
And before you respond, Commissioner Perry, just one other thing, Frank, that it didn't occur to me before. There were communities that weren't paying that had equal voices.
Oh, that's really not good.
But, go ahead, Commissioner Perry.
All right.
Now, I'm not aware of, just because I don't have all the history
I
yet on
understand,
that
I'm not
part.
picking on you, I'm just
No,
remembering.
no, I know. And so I'm just saying I can't address that, but I think what's happened is so much has changed with the situation with transit, and that has become a very strong movement here in Detroit, and the redevelopment of the city and Woodward. But also, I think the WA3 has changed quite a bit as an organization, and that my impression from everything that I've heard is that they have gotten stronger. Their ability to give grants and to receive grants has gotten a lot stronger. I mean, this big art movement that just happened in Ferndale, I know, was a grant that they got through the WA3 through Motor City Casinos and things like that. So it's everything I am hearing, these are really important movements to Metro Detroit as a whole, which I don't think we want to be left out of important things like some of this, the development, you know, which the Planning Commission I know has really been talking about along Woodward. Because you want to have a nice cohesive sense to that and to be at the table so that your voice is heard. Because if you have concerns, if it's going in a direction you don't want, you know, that you need to be there for that as well.
Well, I don't know, I don't think I have a problem for trying it for a year to see what happens and see if we're not treated the same way we were before. If we get to a situation that happened before, as the mayor said, where members that are not even paying their share are getting equal votes to the paying members, that doesn't really make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Then why pay? Then we should go there and vote and see what happens. But
Well, and I know they are absolutely, they are very excited to have Pleasant Ridge at the table, and, you know, to hopefully, you know, to be able to include us in some of these grant programs and things like that they are doing. So
okay.
we'll make sure to pay close attention to any benefits that we can receive from the organization.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, if I could, I would just echo Commissioner Rubino's concerns for you know, representation, but I would highlight how you know, the $1,300 investment in the membership would open us up for grant opportunities that could be well in excess of those funds. So I think you know, being a member is exciting in regards for what potentially we could be involved in, what we could be in line to receive as a member, and that's what excites me about membership. But I definitely share Commissioner Rubino's worries about value, and after a year, you know, I think it's something that would be liable to be re-examined. But I'm excited to get back in and see the benefits.
Offline, Commissioner Perry, I'll share with you, you can give me a call sometime and I'll share with you some of
Okay.
what has
Thank
happened
you.
in the last several years. Is there a motion to rejoin WA3?
Mayor? Sure.
I thought you'd make it.
Somehow I did too.
Mayor, I move that the City of Pleasant Ridge renew its membership with the Woodward Avenue Action Association, WA3, for fiscal year 2013 as recommended.
Is there support?
I support.
May we take a vote?
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Commissioner Kuziak?
Yes.
Commissioner Bushy?
No.
Commissioner Rubino?
Yes.
Mayor Costelli?
Yes, motion carries. Now, before Commissioner Perry finds out as to whether everything else has become more of everything else, I'd like to jump back to agenda item number 5 because I have a note to my left that Mr. Gideon is in the room. And we summarized the proclamation in honor of your actions because you weren't here, but now I'll ask the city clerk to read the proclamation. It has already been approved.
Sorry I'm late.
No problem.
I was in an apartment building in Highland Park.
Amy.
I wouldn't tell you. I said I was working.
I wouldn't say that either.
Whereas on Monday, May 5th, 2012, Mr. Jason Gideon noticed a suspicious vehicle person driving slowly in the area near his home on Sylvan. And whereas Mr. Gideon then noticed the driver of the vehicle walk up to a vacant home near his home, then after a short time returned to his vehicle. And whereas as the vehicle drove off, Mr. Gideon decided to follow the suspicious person in his own vehicle. As Mr. Gideon followed the vehicle, he contacted the Pleasant Ridge Police Dispatch to report the suspicious activity he witnessed. And whereas Mr. Gideon continued to follow the vehicle, losing sight of it for a short time, then locating it again, at the same time that Sergeant Bunting spotted the vehicle. And whereas the City of Pleasant Ridge is fortunate to have involved citizens that serve as community role models, and whereas certain citizens emerged to unselfishly perform community service above and beyond the call of duty without expectation or desire for compensation or remuneration, and whereas Mr. Gideon is such a citizen by serving as a dedicated individual providing his services to the City of Pleasant Ridge to assist in the location of a dangerous felon. Now therefore, I, Ralph A. Castelli Jr., by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor, and speaking on behalf of the Pleasant Ridge City Commission and all our citizens, do hereby offer our most sincere and humble gratitude to Mr. Jason Gideon for his contribution in the apprehension of this individual.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor. Jesus reads almost word for word from my incident report.
Funny how
I like
those
it.
things happen.
Anyway, Jason Gideon, 68 Sylvan, and briefly I just wanted to say that thanks for the acknowledgement, but really no acknowledgement is required in this matter. This is just what you're supposed to do as a resident of any city, especially a nice one such as this. It's a responsibility that we all share, and
Well,
I would
thank
expect everybody to do the same, and I'm pretty darn sure that they would.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Got some ideas maybe to help solve some of the issues that I wouldn't mind running by you guys while I'm here. Now have the microphone in here.
Actually, at agenda item 18, you'll have
Okay,
that
deal.
opportunity. Next item is number 15, consideration of the appointment of Commissioner Ann Perry as the city's representative to the Woodward Avenue Action Association Free Board, term to expire November 12, 2013. Is there such a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that the appointment of Commissioner Ann Perry as the city's representative to the Woodward Avenue Action Association, WA3 Board, term to expire November 12, 2013, as recommended.
Is there support? You can't support it, Commissioner Perry.
No support.
May we take a vote?
Commissioner Rubino?
Yes.
Commissioner Bushy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kuziak?
Yes.
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Mayor Costelli?
Yes, motion carries.
Glad you didn't say no.
Next item is consideration of the city's annual contribution to Ferndale Youth Assistant, known as FYA. Sure.
Mayor, this is an annual request by the Ferndale Youth Assistants and something that the city has supported for many years. The city budget's $1,000 for the purpose of supporting FYA, and my recommendation is that the city continue to do that this year.
Is there such a motion?
Mayor, I move that the request by Ferndale Youth Assistance, FYA, for the annual contribution of $1,000 to its organization be approved as recommended.
Is there support?
Support.
May we take a vote?
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Commissioner Rubino?
Yes.
Commissioner Bushy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kuziak?
Yes.
Mayor Costelli?
Yes, motion carries. Next item is consideration of the appointment of Ms. Amy Allison as the city's officer delegate to the Municipal Employees Retirement System, known as MERS. Annual meeting to be held October 3rd through October 5th, 2012. Sherry.
Mayor, usually the city manager attends the MERS conference every year, and I will not be able to attend this year, or the chief of police. The purpose of attending is to find out any updates that are occurring or happening with the city's retirement system. They are probably the most beneficial conferences that I have ever attended in my career, and every employee who has attended has said the same. And municipalities generally send at least 2, sometimes 4 employees, because there are constant changes. I will probably be out of the office, so we aren't even sure that Amy's going to be able to attend, but my recommendation is that she be appointed as a delegate in the event that she will be able to be out of the office.
Is there such a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move the appointment of Miss Amy Allison as delegate to the Michigan Employment Retirement, also known as MERS, annual meeting, be appointed as recommended, be approved as recommended.
Is there support?
Support.
Mayor, take a vote.
Commissioner Bushy?
Yes.
Commissioner Rubino?
Yes.
Commissioner Kuziak?
Yes.
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Mayor Costelli?
Yes, motion carries. Next item is public discussion items not on the agenda.
Anyway, thanks again for this. I do appreciate it a lot. It's nice to get the recognition of my peers. Briefly, I don't know what we can do in a nutshell to tighten things up around here security-wise, but I think it's worth discussing. I mean, what would you, commissioners and mayor, city manager, city attorney, what do you folks consider a normal amount of crime?
I don't know that there's no normal
None.
amount.
Sure,
So-
you started some working on a neighborhood watch type program.
Yes, that's probably something we're going to implement by fall. Yeah.
Okay.
I dropped off with the chief a couple things that I printed out from my own research. One of them is a crime mapping tool that Royal Oak Police is implementing, and I think that runs like $50 a month, and it's no additional work for the officers. It just pulls from the reports that they automatically generate and submit to some agency whose initials and name I can't remember already, but it's really no effort, and it's like $50 a month, and it would give the residents something to look at, so maybe they could assist in running down some of these things that happen. Now, there isn't a lot of crime that happens here, other than right by my house, wonderfully enough, but I think we've got that under
I
control
started
for the
saying, not
moment.
anymore, sir.
Well, they're still there. Not,
They don't live there.
somebody's moving in again real soon. And I don't know if they've gone through the process of getting a rental license
Not
or
at all.
anything like that.
No, I will follow
Well,
up
I
if
saw
that's
somebody
true.
looking at the house yesterday,
Oh,
she-
so there's no one moving?
Not
in.
yet.
Okay.
but that's coming. She was there with her mom, and she
Okay.
seems like a kid. I didn't talk to her. I was I was talking to you when we saw her.
I was
Okay.
in the park.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can follow up on that, Jason.
Chief, do you have any comments?
Well, the system he's talking about is through Clemis. That's the
Clemis.
report system we use right now.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how much each individual thing you get from Clemis costs more each year as you can go through the budget and look, it keeps going up. So I don't know if the $50 a month is an accurate thing.
That's just for the website. I don't know what Clemis really is or what they charge or anything like that.
Each thing they add to our system,
We'd have to look
we have
into
to
it,
look
maybe.
into it and check it out.
Just in casual conversations with other residents, a lot of us feel like we're not hearing the whole story about what's going on necessarily. In the follow-up on the house on my block, I'm finding out from other neighbors, other incidents that have happened in the last couple of years that I had no idea about, including in 2006 when 64 Sylvan was broken into, and it sounds like those crooks were there most of the night eating and drinking and smoking cigarettes and stomping them out
Yeah,
on the floor.
Well,
And
some of these things we do not advertise. Some of the things that are police-sensitive material are not publicized publicly. And I don't want anyone to leave this or understand it in the viewing audience that there is this crime-ridden community called Pleasant Ridge that, you know, the city isn't telling residents about. That is far from the truth.
Right, and
This is generally a very safe community. We have an active police force that I think do an excellent job. So, you know.
and I would
and
agree
I'm
on all of
saying
that.
this because I think what you're saying sounds alarming to me, and I don't want anyone to leave this building thinking that, you know, they're living in a dangerous area. Overall, like you said, you want zero crime. But for us, it would be irresponsible, I think, for a police officer to share details of a crime scene with a resident. Yes, we tell people, lock your car, keep your doors locked. There's a reason that those warnings are in the Ridger every quarter. It's not just for filler space. It's seriously, you know where you live, be aware of your surroundings. We have great people who live here who watch out for each other. And I think if we strengthen that kind of awareness by a neighborhood watch program, better that way than to, you know, tell details about criminals who may have hidden a house.
One of the points that the Royal Oak Police Chief makes in the article that I dropped off to Chief about the website is a lot of the time it's the citizens that are the source of the information that actually cracks the case.
That may be true, and I understand a city like Royal Oak being even, the size of Royal Oak being even more dependent on that kind of information. But in Pleasant Ridge, I mean, we're fortunate to some degree that everybody knows each other. You can say an address, and me and Carl will probably tell you the former owner's name, maybe before that, and who lives there now and what their story is. So it's a little bit different, and we're able, I think, to know a little bit more in detail one-on-one with our residents because there's 1,150 homes here. So what applies to Royal Oak and what's needed in Royal Oak for a city that size is a little bit different than it is for Pleasant Ridge. And we are every bit as cautious, if not more so, than a city that size.
Yes, and I'm not implying that you aren't. I'm just saying.
I know, Jason, but I don't want anyone else, you know, to take away from what you're saying, be afraid.
I'm just saying we have the opportunity now to actually set precedent as being a no-fly zone for any crime whatsoever. And while we're here now talking about this matter, and we've dealt with a few things in the past, the recent past, and I'm sure we'll deal with some things in the near future given our proximity to America's most dangerous city. It's 140 square miles of squalor. I don't know when the last time any of y'all took the ride through, but I just came from there. And
Well, I don't think any place located at Woodward and 696 is ever gonna be a crime-free zone.
but I think it's worth striving for at this case. I mean,
Striving
especially
for it,
given
and that's why
we
Sherry-
just saw
that's
this
why-
individual.
That's why Sherry is coming forward at the request, I believe, of Commissioner Bushy and was it Perry or Krzyjak?
Bushy and Perry.
To come forward with some sort of neighborhood watch program to be enrolled in the fall.
Which I think even a real easy thing we could all try and do right away is everyone just leave your front porch lights on all night, because whenever you light something up, it helps.
You talk to my wife about leaving the light.
We'll ask Kim.
Well, it does help. The officers drive through, it helps. Sure, if you're a criminal, you're gonna hide in dark shadows. If the street light or the porch lights are on, things like that, it helps. The officers can see a little better. And you see a shadow moving, you're gonna go investigate it. And as you know, unlike most cities, our officers are patrolling the side streets. They're not just out on Woodward Avenue, you know, they're on the residential streets. We offer a lot of, you know, perks, house checks when people go on vacation. We encourage everyone to call in so that we can check your house, and we do. The mayor can attest to it. So,
I
you know.
don't think anybody is naive enough to believe that everything is a zero crime.
Exactly, you
Everybody knows-
can't,
You
you
can't
never
do
do
that, but
that.
what you can do is everybody chip in, just like this gentleman did here. And I know that
If you
majority of
see
residents
something.
on my street all watch out for each other.
Yes.
And that's why I think the neighborhood watch is a great idea.
If you see something suspicious, if it's suspicious to you, don't wait, call right away. It could be the paper boy, but if you call, we have a better chance of checking it out than a day and a half later when someone says, you know, I saw a car.
Mhm.
Okay, when was it? It's 3 days ago. You know, that just doesn't help.
Doesn't really help you.
The biggest helpful thing is to call right away when you see something that you think is suspicious.
Chief, can I just ask, is that the 911 call, or would you suggest?
If it's suspicious to you, you
Chief,
can.
I'm sorry, can you come closer to the mic so we make sure that...
If you have a suspicion, call the 541-2900, and it'll connect you to dispatch. You can also call the 582-2004 at night after hours,
Okay.
and that'll go directly into dispatch. They answer the phone, Pleasant Ridge Police. If you see someone breaking into a car, something like that, you can call 911. That's a little bit, you know, that they've taken it a step further.
Right.
Or breaking into a home, something like that, call 911. It goes directly to dispatch. They'll have the car there immediately. So I would, you know, your first suspicions, you see someone walking on the street, you know, call the regular line first. And then if you think they've done more, then you can call 911.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anything else, Chief, that you can think of off the cuff here that would help you guys in this matter? I mean, I don't expect anybody else to use themselves as bait for these local criminals like I did in the last 6 months.
You really don't want to do that. You want to report things as best you can. You know, don't take matters into your own hands. Let us handle it. Because sometimes, as we found out in Florida, the gentleman took it a little too far, and now he's standing trial. And we don't want that. We'd rather you call us on the phone, let us know what's going on, let us investigate it, and then continue on from there. We'll get a statement from you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sherry, you think September, October, you'd be talking about the neighborhood watch again?
Yes, in fact, I'll tell you that I asked Sergeant Bunting to look into this. I think I told you in the memo. And it was assigned to Officer Reed, who I think actually volunteered, something that he would probably enjoy heading up. And I received a packet of information about a month ago. And as you know, I had some personal time off, but I reviewed that packet of information this week, and he deserves commendation for the thoroughness of this information. And I'm really looking forward to sitting down and developing a program and how it would work and fit for Pleasant Ridge. So I expect by no later than this fall that we will have a program up and running. And he'll lead it.
Thank you.
The other thing I looked at and printed out for Chief to review and you folks to consider, and it's a little more controversial, I guess, than the mapping tool was, which I thought was a no-brainer, frankly. But this involves the city of New York is kept safe through a series of video cameras that feed into a database that stores the video images for 90 to 120 days. And whenever there is an incident, they just wind the tape back. It doesn't shine on people's houses. It's not an invasion of privacy. It only looks at public areas. And there's Homeland Security initiatives and grants available to implement these sort of things. Like I said, it's not something that I'm necessarily recommending yet at this point, but if things were to get worse and we needed some sort of fail-safe system so that we always had excuse me, eyes and ears to assist our guys in blue out there working, I don't see what the negatives would be to something like that. So I think that's worth considering too, especially since Homeland Security through the state police urban security initiative is willing to pay for it all if the grant application process is filled out correctly. All these things I think are good ideas, and again, I'm thankful for the recognition here, but what I really, really, really want is to see the videotape of the chase.
He hasn't gone before.
Yeah, I know.
Thank
So,
you.
thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
other items not on the agenda? Yes.
If I could, I just want to, I know I was glad that you took a moment of silence at the beginning. I know we lost a service member of this community. and I felt it was appropriate to honor him at the beginning of tonight's meeting, and I thank you for doing that. I just wanted to inform the broader community about Staff Sergeant Matthew Leach, who passed away on the 26th of June in Afghanistan. He left behind a young wife, Sarah, and a 7-month-old son. He showed extreme dedication to this country by completing 2 tours of Iraq with the 82nd Airborne Division, which totaled 20 months in combat. After the second tour ended in 2008, he joined the Army Reserves and signed up for a 1-year tour in Afghanistan. Leach's son Jack turned 7 months old just 2 days after his father's death, and to honor his father's memory, the family asked that any gifts be directed to help set up a college fund for Jack. So I just wanted to make aware to our community that if you wanted to help out his family, that the bank, that they set up an account at Bank of America under Jack Hunter Leach, and the account number is 375010907747. That's at Bank of America and Jack Hunter Leach account 375010907747.
I brought from the funeral home today the cards with that information, and perhaps, Ted, you can find a way for the replays to show the card. And for those who are watching tonight, Sergeant Leach will be laid to rest tomorrow at the Great Lakes National Cemetery in Holly, Michigan, and that's tomorrow at 12. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to, it takes events like this for us to remember that we need to be mindful of the sacrifices that we continue to ask thousands of our military families to make on our behalf, and I just think, that we need to keep that in mind. Thank you. Anything else not on the agenda? City manager's report.
I don't have much to report this evening, Mayor, but I will tell you, the ice cream social, I will remind you about that. That's next Wednesday, not tomorrow night, but next Wednesday at 6 o'clock. An update on Polar Environmental. There is a conference call scheduled with the city manager in Ferndale and myself on Monday. I have no idea what that's about, but there is no news on public hearing of any sort as yet, so I will let you know. And the city commission asked that I look into the cost of installing a new sidewalk on West Kenverton between Oakdale and Maplefield. I did that, and I mailed a letter to the properties that would be directly impacted by that sidewalk. I heard back from one resident, and she came in, and actually we had a nice visit. I hadn't seen her in a long time. She sent me an email after we had the meeting to make sure I was clear about what she was saying, and she just wanted me to know that she was officially opposed to the sidewalk. Obviously, this is a person, she knows that if the sidewalk, if the city commission decides it has to go in, I mean, she's gonna have to live with it, but she wanted to express her concerns about why she would not wanna see a sidewalk in that area. And like I said, I had a nice conversation with her, and she had some other ideas about maybe putting hash marks in the street, but she is a former planning commissioner, and has been involved in the city and has lived in that house for a number of years without sidewalks, so she would rather not have a sidewalk in the area.
Would the sidewalk go on her property, her part of it?
It's not on her property, it's just green space that's
Right.
there now.
It's part of,
But yes, it's
Connected
city
to it.
easement, and it would go along there, so it would, would give a whole different look, and it would be more maintenance for her.
shovel.
Sure.
Oh, okay. Were there any other concerns that she had that were, I mean, because we love paint shoveling, but, I mean, were there any other thoughts and stuff?
She just didn't like it, I mean, obviously we had a conversation for a long time,
Sure.
and, I think when Oakdale was under construction, and she and I had talked about it then, and she was glad at that time that there was not a sidewalk going in then. I think her thought was, if there was this great need, or if it would benefit a lot of people, then she could certainly understand why the city would want to put a sidewalk in. But to her knowledge, and she did, I think, have a conversation with Jay about it too. She just said, you know, there's a lot of pathways, and she suggested maybe the school district would be willing to put a different bus stop somewhere, so that you don't have to, you know, change the look and aesthetics of the city and impact residents for the sake of, you know, walking a short distance to a bus stop. So, you know, like I said, she was opposed to it, but she's not the kind of person that if the city decided this was something they're gonna do, she's reasonable.
Any
I
other
just wanted
reports,
to
Sherry?
report that, and I did not hear from the other neighbors, so I thought I would send them a postcard as a reminder, just because I think it would be good to have feedback from them.
Other business?
One more question? Sure. Kurt Metzger, 28 Sylvan. As one of the residents who walks Sylvan and walks around the corner onto Woodward Avenue and has watched kind of this building disintegrate in front of us over time, we noticed that the building at the corner of Sylvan and Woodward has been sold. Can anybody tell us?
Are you talking about the loft?
Right.
I didn't see the sold sign.
Yeah, the sold sign, we're just curious as to who bought it, and they do seem to be working on the roof. So is there any way we can get
The
some?
paperwork that came through was, it was sold to an investment company, so there's no clue as to what's gonna go in there yet.
But I believe there are still lawyer tenants there.
Alright.
You just walk in and ask, they may know something.
They're still there.
Yeah,
I think Michelle's, Judge Apple's father is a tenant there.
he was, so I'm assuming he's still there. I don't
They're
know, I
still
just got
filing
that today,
documents
by the
from
way.
that address, so.
Jay?
Jay Foreman, 79 Maplefield. If I could just make a comment about the sidewalk. I understand it's an aesthetic issue. I mean, none of us want a sidewalk to shovel and maintain. And it doesn't look that great in front of our house either. But I see it as a safety issue, not just for my children walking to school, but for anyone walking through the neighborhood or biking through the neighborhood. So that's really all I wanted to say. It's more than just an aesthetic thing. I don't like them either, but we have to have them for safety. That's my point.
I understand your perspective, I understand her.
Yes,
Yes.
both sides. Safety is important.
And one more thing on the sidewalks, if I could, Mayor. The,
This is a national holiday. Yeah,
what holiday is that?
the National Holiday Holiday.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I know. It's really fast. Sure, I had emailed City Manager Ball, and she's going to send me, or she gave me a couple numbers. I know a lot of residents, after reading an article in the Woodward Talk regarding sidewalk safety and tripping hazards and the responsibility of the homeowner, a lot of residents said something to me about wanting some solutions. So we're going to try and get a couple alternatives, and best alternatives, so maybe they can get better pricing on doing some sidewalk solutions. So we'll keep you updated on that.
Anything else, any motion to adjourn?
I have one other thing I wanted to say. Sorry about this. The only thing I want to say is that the last meeting, a resident got up and spoke and said something about the grant that we were getting, the study grant, and that the city had to pay for it, and that he had documentation that the city was going to have to pay for it. I just wanted to clarify that it is totally paid by the state. The city has no investment in it, and I'm surprised the resident didn't come back tonight and say he was wrong. And because people usually come and say, hey, this is not the way it is. And then when they find out it is the way we tell them it is, they don't come back and tell you, you were right, Sherry. And it angered me last month only because he was basically calling you a liar. And I thought that was inappropriate. And we got the information from the state. It's very clear and very precise that it's 100% paid by the state. There is no contribution from the city. So I think that needs to be on the record, because it was on the record that you said it was wrong and that you had told us a mistruth. But so I wanted on the record that it was the truth, and she was absolutely right. The city manager was absolutely right that the city is not paying a penny. That's all I want to say.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm surprised.
Before we have a motion to adjourn, Historically, we take the August meeting off unless there's something pressing that comes forward for the agenda. And that presently is the plan. Sherry had given me a note tonight, she had nothing for August. So the second Tuesday in August, if you're looking for something to do in the evening, I suggest the pool, maybe a movie, cable TV, but not here.
Thank
Is
you.
there a motion to adjourn?
Well, before we adjourn, I mean, in regards to, Commissioner Rubino, I think the resident, if we're talking about Mr. Hartman, was
I
more,
wasn't gonna mention the name,
well, I think,
but since you did.
sure, I'm sure he would be happy that I did too, but I think he is, his concern was the definition of some of these things, and I think there's been a letter that's been received from the state.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay. Have we seen I would love to get a copy of the
It was
letter,
in a
but-
packet a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it?
Yep.
I didn't-
Maybe not, no, I know you asked for one, so.
Yeah, I didn't get a
It's
copy
easy
of the
to
letter.
send it.
Great. But I think it was not a personal question. I think it was very much about the definition of this, of what this grant says, and the changes that were made and things like that.
Well, I think his words were either you have deceived the community or you have deceived the state.
Exactly.
Those are his words.
So that's a personal attack as far as I'm concerned. And now I just want to clarify that it is paid by the state. I wasn't going to mention any names because that person knows who they are. But since you did, thank you.
Sure. But I think there's,
He may not have meant that, I understand what you're saying.
no, but I'm saying that there is I believe the question was not valid, it's
Maybe
not.
not what he was trying to say, but how he said it.
Well, I think, right, obviously, we've discussed this issue for well over a year. And
Yes.
so, there are different either perspectives or however you want to define it. So no offense, but I don't think it was a personal attack. I think it was a policy question and concern. Which, those are very different things.
Well, we also have a different opinion.
Okay,
I saw
so
it
we can
differently.
agree to disagree on that.
We just did.
Okay.
We disagreed to disagree. Thank you.
Can we agree to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.